Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever watched someone lie to your face so smoothly that, for a second, you believed you were the crazy one? Because that's exactly how it starts. Not with lipstick on a collar. Not with a mysterious text at 2 a.m. It starts with a flinch.
Yeah.
A flinch. My husband flinched, like I'd pulled a weapon on him. All I did was reach for his phone to check the time. 10 years married, high school sweethearts. The couple everyone said was solid. The kind of couple people hate because we looked all perfect. But perfection is just good lighting. And 5 minutes after that flinch, I realized the man I trusted with my entire life had already planned how to destroy it. He had a perfect Valentine's Day surprise lined up. Flights booked, hotel reserved, gifts purchased. The only problem, none of it was for me. And once I saw what he'd planned, I decided to let him finish the trip. Just not the way he expected. Stick with me, because the thing I found next didn't just prove he was cheating, it showed me exactly how long he'd been planning my humiliation. It was dead Tuesday night. Nothing dramatic. No bad vibes. Just laundry on the bed, Netflix humming in the background, and my husband Mark in the shower, singing off-key like he always does when he thinks nobody's listening. His phone was on the nightstand. It buzzed once, then again. I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear. I just glanced over to see if it was his mom or his boss, but when the screen lit up, I caught a preview before it went dark. Not a name, just emojis, a plane, a palm tree, a red heart. I laughed at first, like okay, Sim was being dramatic. Then Mark walked out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, hair still dripping. Yo, your phone's blowing up, I said, casual, normal, no suspicion in my voice at all, and that's when he flinched. Not big, not obvious, just a tiny hitch in his step, a micro-freeze, like his brain stalled for half a second while deciding which lie to load. Just work, he said, flipping the phone face down. Chicago stuff. The mergers, a nightmare. Chicago that nerd. Chicago in February is cold, ugly, miserable. You don't send palm tree emojis for Chicago, you send snowflakes. Or skulls. That flinch stayed with me. It crawled into my chest and refused to leave. So when he fell asleep, I did something I'd never done in 10 years of marriage. I checked the iPad, not his phone, he was careful with that. But the iPad was synced to his email. And Mark deletes messages, but forgets to empty the trash. And there it was, Delta Airlines, Flight 402, destination Cabo San Lucas. Dates, February 13th to 17th, 2 passengers, his name and hers, Jessica Miller. My ears started ringing, like my body couldn't process the betrayal fast enough, so it tried to shut down instead. I scrolled, hotel reservation, honeymoon suite, couples massage on Valentine's morning, a private dinner on the beach. He hadn't planned something this romantic for me in years. I slid down onto the kitchen floor, staring at the screen like it might change if I blinked hard enough. Then I saw the receipt. Diamond tennis bracelet, $2,000. Purchased 2 days ago. I didn't get a bracelet, and that's when I realized something that made my blood go ice cold. The trip wasn't new. The lies weren't sudden. This wasn't a mistake. This was a whole operation. Flights booked weeks ago. The hotel upgraded days ago. Gifts purchased while he was kissing me goodbye in the morning. Meaning, while I was planning what tie to buy him for Valentine's Day, he was planning how to leave the country with another woman. And the craziest part, if I confronted him right then, he'd just lie harder, gaslight me, call me paranoid, make me doubt my own eyes. So I did the only thing that actually scared Elio. I stayed quiet. I took screenshots, flights, hotel, bracelet, every single digital breadcrumb he left behind. Then I went back upstairs, curled up next to him, and listened to him sleep like he hadn't just detonated our entire life. But here's where it gets evil. Instead of stopping the trip, I decided to improve it. Because the next 2 weeks, that's when I learned how to smile in a man's face while building his downfall in silence. You never realize the scariest person in the room isn't the one yelling. It's the one smiling too calmly. That became me, because once you know the truth, you've got 2 options: explode or weaponize silence. And I chose violence, quiet violence. The next 2 weeks, I didn't cry, I didn't confront. I turned into the woman he trusted the most while secretly preparing to ruin his life in public. The morning after I found them Bookings. Mark woke up like nothing had happened, rolled over, kissed my forehead, smelled like my shampoo. The audacity almost made me laugh. Chicago's gonna be brutal, he groaned. A snowstorm is coming. Oh no, I said, handing him coffee. You better pack that heavy coat. I watched his pupils dilate for half a second. Just a flicker of panic, then relief. He thought he was safe. That tiny moment told me everything. I was officially invisible to him. For the next 14 days, I played the role of supportive wife like I deserved an Oscar. I stopped asking about his schedule, stopped checking his phone, stopped being emotional. Men love peace. So I gave him peace, the kind that comes before a storm wipes your house off the map. While he was working late, I did my homework. I searched her name, Jessica Miller. Public Instagram, 24, fresh out of college, blonde, smile, too big for the mess she was walking into. Her story highlights were countdowns, 18 days until paradise, soon with my favorite person. She never showed his face, just his hand on a drink. I recognized the watch. I bought that watch. I thought I'd feel rage at her. But what I felt was something colder. Indifference. She wasn't the villain. She was the prop. Bob Mark was the one who built the stage. So I started moving chess pieces. First move, money. Half our savings quietly slid into a separate account. Not illegal, just strategic. Then I booked a consultation with a divorce attorney. Didn't file, just prepared. Paperwork drafted. Waiting for the right moment to drop. Second move, witnesses. I needed his lie to collapse in front of people who mattered. People who couldn't be gaslit. People he couldn't charm out of the truth. And that's when I remembered everyone thought he was going to Chicago. His parents, his best friend Dave, his co-workers. Perfect. Let the lie grow big. Big lies explode louder. So one night at dinner, I leaned in sweet. Since you'll be gone on Valentine's, I said, what if we do a little send-off dinner with your parents? Just something small. Wish you luck in Chicago. He hesitated. The night before. I'll be packing. I'll pack for you. I smiled. We'll go to Lucas. Invite your parents. Maybe Dave and his wife. One last family dinner before you freeze in Chicago. He couldn't say no without sounding guilty. Yeah, he said, that'd be nice. That was the moment I knew he'd walk straight into whatever I built. But here's where it got diabolical. I realized something that made my stomach twist into a grin. Jessica might not even know about me. So instead of exposing her, I decided to invite her, not to confront her, not to threaten her, to let her meet the woman she thought didn't exist. I called Mark's office pretending to send a Chicago team gift. The receptionist corrected me, said it was just him. And Jessica on the off-site. Bingo.I asked to be transferred. Hi, Jessica, I said sweetly. This is Mark's wife. Silence. Pure, nuclear silence. I invited her to dinner, told her it was a surprise for Mark, told her his parents would be there, told her it would mean a lot to him. She said yes, of course she did. Curiosity kills, Ketsan Mishra says that night. I started building what I called the portfolio. Lou flights, hotel, bracelet, receipt, her Instagram posts. Printed, labeled, organized. I wasn't planning a confrontation. I was planning a presentation, because when that restaurant door opened and she walked in, I wasn't just going to expose a cheater. I was going to make his two realities collide in front of everyone he'd lied to, and the fallout way messier than I expected. If you're watching this story, tighten your blanket and hit the like button so YouTube understands you want the next chapter unlocked. And tell me in the comments, which beautiful country are you watching from? And what's the exact time there right now? Have you ever noticed how liars only feel brave when they think you're stupid? That's the moment you've already won. Because while Mark was walking around chest out, thinking he'd fooled everyone in his life, I was building this stage where he'd fall apart in front of all of them. The trap wasn't about catching him cheating. It was about forcing him to watch his lie die in public. The day of the dinner, I woke up weirdly calm. No shaking, no crying, just this eerie focus, like my emotions had clocked out and strategy clocked in. Mark kissed me goodbye before work. Big night, he said. Last dinner before Chicago. Yeah, I smiled. Big night. While he was gone, I laid everything out on the bed. That portfolio. Printed flight, confirmations to CABO, hotel reservation with honeymoon suite circled in red pen, the receipt for the diamond tennis bracelet, screenshots of Jessica's countdown posts with the date highlighted. I slid them into a clean leather folder and tied a red bow around it. Not because I'm petty. Okay, because I'm petty. Then I packed his suitcase. Not the stuff he was taking to CABO. All his stuff. Shirts, shoes, that stupid hoodie he loved more than me. Every last thing he owned was in my house. I lined the suitcases up by the front door like a quiet eviction notice. When he got home, he didn't even notice. He was too busy rehearsing his lies in his head. I could see it on his face, walking through his Chicago story, making sure the details matched. At the restaurant, his parents were already there. Dave and his wife showed up a minute later. Mark relaxed into his charming golden boy routine. He told jokes. He talked about how brutal Chicago weather was going to be. His mom asked if he packed thermals. He said, yeah, that. I watched him lie with the same mouth that used to whisper, I love you, to me at night. Then the door opened, and Jessica walked in. She looked nervous but excited. Cute dress, hair done, like she was going on a date, not walking into a firing squad. Mark's face drained of color so fast I thought he might pass out. The man froze mid-sip water glass, hovering in the air like a glitch in reality. Just say he croaked. What are you doing here? She blinked. Your wife invited me? For this surprise dinner? Every lie he'd ever told started colliding at once. He could see his brain short-circuiting. I smiled. Sit down, Jessica. We were just talking about your trip. His mom leaned forward. Oh, honey, are you going to Chicago too? Jessica looked at Mark. Mark looked at the exit. No one answered. That's when I slid the portfolio onto the table. Not aggressively, not dramatically, softly, like I was setting down dessert. Actually, I said, I don't think Chicago's on the itinerary. Mark whispered my name like a prayer. Don't. His dad opened the folder, Sabio San Lucas. Flight confirmations. 2 names. The table went dead silent. No chewing, no clinking fork. Just the sound of Mark's entire life snapping in half. Jessica's face crumpled. He told me you were separated, she said, voice shaking. He said the marriage was basically over. I tilted my head. Yeah. He told me he was going to Chicago. He's a storyteller. Mark stood up so fast his chair scraped. This isn't what it looks like. Oh, it's exactly what it looks like, I said calmly. And since you're leaving tomorrow, I went ahead and packed your bags. Nodded toward the window, there in the trunk. Don't worry about coming back to the house. The locks get changed tonight. His mom started crying. His dad looked like he wanted to disown him on the spot. Jessica bolted from the table, in tears. Mark reached for my arm. I stepped back. You made me invisible for weeks, I said. Tonight, everyone sees you. I walked out of that restaurant with my head high. But what happened next? That's where the revenge got personal. You think revenge ends when you walk out? Nah, that's just the trailer. Because when you expose a liar in public, the real chaos doesn't start at the table. It starts when the doors close and they realize there's nowhere left to hide. And what Mark did next, that's when I knew I'd shattered the version of him I thought I'd loved forever. I didn't go home after the restaurant. I got into the Uber I'd pre-booked and watched the city lights blur past, heart hammering, hand steady. While part my body was calm, like it had been waiting years for this moment to finally breathe. My phone started lighting up immediately. Mark, Dave, his mom, unknown numbers. I blocked. Mark Fess. No explanation, no closure, just silence. Because silence hits harder when someone's used to controlling the narrative. By the time I got home, the suitcases were still lined up by the door. I didn't move them. I changed the locks. I left his clothes in the trunk where he could find them. Not because I was cruel, but because consequences should be inconvenient. He didn't go to CABO. That's the part people always ask about. Turns out, he showed up at the airport anyway, tried to salvage the trip. Though maybe if he got there first, he could fix it. Jessica didn't show. She blocked him before the boarding call. The airline wouldn't refund the honeymoon suite. He sat at the gate alone with a first-class ticket and a reality he couldn't swipe away. Here's the twist nobody expects. The bracelet. I returned it. not for the money, for the message. I sent it back with a note through his mom. Wrong Valentine. That broke him more than the public exposure ever could. Because it meant I wasn't just angry, I was done caring. The divorce was ugly. He tried to paint me as dramatic, tried to say I ambushed him, but the portfolio didn't lie. Emails don't have emotions. Flight records don't gaslight. In mediation, his story fell apart, piece by piece, until even his lawyers stopped making eye contact with him. He'd lost the house, he'd lost his reputation at work, and a week later Jessica transferred departments. Funny how paradise looks when everyone knows who you are. A year later, I ran into him at a grocery store. He looked smaller, quieter, like someone who finally realized that charm isn't the same thing as character. He tried to apologize. I told him something that surprised both of us. I don't hate you, I said. I just don't recognize you anymore. And that was the truth. Because the real revenge wasn't humiliating him at dinner. It wasn't ruining the trip. It wasn't watching his lie collapse. The real revenge was choosing myself and never letting him rewrite what he did to me. Here's the part that might mess with you. If I hadn't reached for his phone to check the time, I might still be married to a lie. So if you've ever felt that weird gut feeling when someone guards their phone, dodges simple questions, or suddenly has work trips with palm tree emojis attached, trust that instinct. Because peace built on lies is just quiet betrayal. If this story hit a nerve, hit that like button. If you've ever caught someone living a double life, drop a comment. I read everyone. And if you want to hear the voicemail his mom left him the night after the dinner, subscribe. Some consequences echo louder than others.